I still remember the first time I was introduced to Nas. The year was 2001, and I was in the 4th grade. This was the year he released his infamous diss track towards Jay-Z called Ether. The Nas and Jay-Z feud this year was on the same level as Kendrick Lamar vs. Drake. I still remember the countless debates on street corners and barbershops that led to many people choosing a side. Do you think Nas's track Ether won the beef, or do you think Jay-Z's song Takeover won the beef? As someone who listened to each track countless times back then, Nas definitely won the battle in my opinion. I also still believe this to this day, but this was just one of the things that fascinated me about Nas, as he also released his 5th studio album Stillmatic. Now I didn't own this album back then, but I definitely remember the songs from this project as music videos from them appeared on MTV and BET. I still remember the first time I heard the song One Mic, and it was an incredible listening experience. You instantly recognize Nas's passion on this track by the way he recites his lyrics. The message in the song is very motivational, as it highlights someone that absolutely loves their craft.
This is my hood, I'm a rap to the death of it, to everybody come on, little brothers is grown, hood rats.
Ever since then, Nas has always fascinated me as an artist, which led to me listening to more of his catalog. But I'm going to be honest and tell you guys that I didn't listen to his entire catalog, as I only listened to his projects up to the album Godson. So for this video, what I'm about to do is listen to Nas's entire discography to really determine how great he is.
Through the lights, cameras, and action, glamour, glitters, and gold, I unfold the scroll, plant seeds, and stampede the globe when I'm...
This project is a great introduction into Nas's catalog, as it highlights many styles and flows we will come to know today. You can definitely sense his passion on this project, as his goal is to prevail in the rap game. This project also highlights the unique elements of his rapping ability, which consists of him showcasing great storytelling, along with providing lyrics that highlight the many hardships of low-end communities. A perfect example that showcases his storytelling ability is the song Just Another Day in the Projects. This track has a very unique concept that involves Nas rapping in different perspectives of living in the ghetto.
Investments in stock, sewing up the blocks to sell rocks, winning gunfights with the cops, custom-made suits.
A track that highlights his activist trait is the song I'm a Villain, as he vividly describes the hardships of black people dealing with the system. This track also showcases his impressive lyrical ability. The production on this project is great as well, as a lot of the instrumentals have a smooth, nostalgic feel to them. One of my favorite beats on this project comes from the track Nas Will Prevail, as it has the elements I mentioned before. This track also consists of Nas telling himself that he will thrive in his endeavors, which is very interesting, as it's exactly what he will do.
My raps react, they attack the whack, just like a maniac. With this, see, I'm a brainiac.
Although this project was great for the most part, it does have minor flaws. The track Everything Is Real wasn't interesting overall due to the production and Nas's performance. On the song Number 1 with the Bullet, Nas, Coogee Rap, and White Boy provide great freestyle verses, which is ultimately ruined by the poorly mixed vocals. Other than that, this project is amazing, as Nas comes out the gate showcasing his incredible rap style. He was destined to succeed, as his abilities are intriguing.
Rappers are monkey flipping with the funky rhythm, I be kicking, musician, inflicting composition.
On Nas's debut album, he showcases an incredible style. The way he rhymes his lyrics is intriguing, as he provides interesting metaphors and references. Another incredible element of his style is his ability to tell stories through his lyrics. He has the ability to put you in his shoes that involves him growing up in an urban area, along with being an elite MC. The production is very creative, which matches well with Nas's captivating style for the most part. But although there's a lot of good on this album, there are moments that were uninteresting due to Nas's inability to provide exciting vocals. Although his lyrical ability is compelling, this doesn't always translate to enjoyable music. There are 2 instances on this album where songs were boring due to the production and Nas's performance. But thankfully this wasn't the majority of this album, as it's amazing for the most part. All in all, this is an incredible album, as Nas showcases great lyricism and storytelling.
Imagine that.
Nas did a phenomenal job on his second album. The hunger of his flow is enhanced, which leads to a ton of great performances. His lyricism and storytelling ability is even better, which led to a variety of tracks being incredibly unique. The main theme of this album highlights the street life that involves gangsters and crime. Nas tells vivid stories about the harsh realities of the lifestyles of criminals and thugs. He also did this very creatively, with the perfect example being the track I Gave You Power, which involves him rapping in the perspective of a gun that constantly gets passed around by gangsters in order to murder. This concept absolutely blew my mind, which greatly showcases Nas's creativity.
How you like me now? I go blow, it's that shit that moves crowds, making every ghetto foul.
He did this throughout this project, which makes for an incredible listening experience. There isn't a bad instrumental on this album, as the beats are masterfully produced to fit Nas's fascinating lyrical style. Another great thing about this album are the guest appearances. There isn't a single bad performance from the featured artist, with the major highlight for me being the incredible flows and verses from the Firm members. Other guests provide great melodic vocals on tracks, which blend well with the concepts and Nas's infectious style. In conclusion, this is a flawless album, as it's filled with amazing production, performances, and rapping ability.
The 6E's out, CD lace, digital readout, no doubt, copy in the draft, through house show elegance.
This group album is met with a ton of mediocre tracks. The production and performances are boring for the most part, as a lot of songs don't have much to offer. The reason this is the case is because the concept of this album missed its mark. The concept itself is really good, as Nas and his crew refer to themselves as the Firm. They are highly influenced by the Italian mob, which leads to them living gangster lifestyles and following a certain code. There are tracks on this project that have great concepts, which highlights the gangster lifestyles of the members. Songs like Phone Tap and 5 Minutes to Flush takes listeners through instances where the gang faces challenges while in the dope game. Sadly, these concepts didn't make up for the majority of the album, which was a missed opportunity in my opinion. A lot of songs consist of them bragging about their lifestyles, which ultimately makes this project feel like it's missing something. In conclusion, this was a decent attempt at a group project, but most of it isn't interesting due to the overall concept not being fully fleshed out. Another major issue is the production and performances, just as I mentioned before.
You can hate me now,
QB,
but I won't stop now.
real niggas.
Nas showcases his storytelling ability and lyricism incredibly on this album. There are multiple tracks that sound like they're something straight out of a movie, which highlights how effectively Nas is able to tell stories through his lyrics. I was highly impressed by his abilities to do this, which led to a great listening experience. Nas also provides concepts that have uplifting messages. These songs reflect growing up in low-end communities, which a lot of people can relate to. I found myself understanding the pain and frustration in Nas's stance on a lot of things, which continues to add to the overall enjoyment of this album. But although there's a lot of good, there are moments where Nas's style felt unauthentic. I believe he was trying out different flows, which were lackluster overall. On the song Hate Me Now, I didn't like his hype flow, and he also seemed unsure in his delivery. This happened again on the song Big Things, as Nas tries to adapt to a more mainstream flow, which leads to him failing miserably.
Just kill him, so what? With a 4 pound, go nuts. Better slow up before you get that ass on up. Nigga never gonna grow up.
Other songs that I didn't like were just boring overall, but the good definitely outweighed the bad on this project, as I highly enjoyed it.
Nas the Esco, the Escobar. Now he is Nastradamus. Nasty.
This album is a complete mixed bag. First off, I didn't like the concept of this album, as it has an underwhelming conclusion. It had the potential to be great, as it's about a prophecy for things to come, only for said things to be situations we already know and experienced. Another major flaw is Nas's inability to adapt to different styles and flows. I like the fact that he experiments on this project, but his efforts come up short for the most part. When he provides melodic flows on choruses, it sounds unappealing, as it's completely out of his element. The hooks in general are a major issue, as most of them don't sound good sonically, and some are cheesy as well. The production is iffy, as there are great instrumentals, while there are also boring instrumentals, which oftentimes leads to boring performances. But thankfully all isn't bad on this project, as Nas still showcases great flows and lyrics. Although I didn't like the conclusion of this album when it comes to the concept, Nas still provides unique concepts during this album that are intriguing. One example in particular is when he rapped in the perspective of a slave that's on the verge of death on the song Last Words.
These the last words of a hanging slave. How can I forget this? I rob you, put you on my hit list. Under my
There is also an example of Nas rapping out of his natural element, and it sounded incredible. The song You Owe Me has an R&B dance feel to it, and Nas flows incredibly well throughout the track. His chemistry with Genuine is great as well. All in all, this is a decent album. I commend Nas for getting out of his comfort zone for the majority of it, but at the same time, this led to a lot of negatives on this project.
All I need is one mic. That's all I need. All I need.
Nas provides a ton of incredible performances on this album. His lyricism and storytelling is at an all-time high, which leads to a wide range of unique concepts. Nas continues to reflect on the hardships of growing up in low-end communities and how the government mistreats the people that live in these areas. He also continues to paint vivid pictures of the street life, which led to him presenting his most creative concept yet. The song Rewind consists of Nas creatively rapping his verses backwards, as if you press the rewind button on the VCR.
We hitting the ropes, the smoke goes back in the blunt gets bigger and growth, jungle unrose it, put his weed back.
Another phenomenal aspect of this album are the inspirational tracks. These songs consist of very passionate performances from Nas, with the perfect example being the track One Mic. The suspenseful production on this track is executed amazingly, as the beat goes from calm to dramatic, which remarkably reflects Nas's fiery delivery. Speaking of suspense, this album holds one of the greatest diss tracks in hip-hop history. Ether is a track aimed at the rapper Jay-Z. Nas's lyrics and delivery are brutal, as he attacks Jay-Z's character on many levels.
This Jay-Z and Cockefeller Records wanted beef, started cocking up my weapon, slowly loading up this ammo.
But although there's a ton of amazing performances on this album, there are lackluster tracks with boring delivery and production. The concepts of these songs are great, but the performances are dreadful. If it weren't for these particular mishaps, this album would have been perfect, as the majority of the songs I like are absolutely incredible. All in all, this is an amazing album with a ton of great performances and concepts.
The whole city is mine, pretty as dawn. I don't like the way P. Diddy did shine with different lawyers.
This project consists of a compilation of scrap songs that were supposed to appear on the albums I Am, Stillmatic, and Nastradamus. With that being said, this is a great compilation of tracks. Nas continues to showcase his abilities amazingly with great lyrics and concepts. The vibe of this project is that of a nostalgic feel due to the production and subject matter. Nas reflects on his past, which involves various hardships and battles with himself. He also shares his perspective on life in intriguing ways. A perfect example of this is the track Nothing Lasts Forever, which consists of Nas telling the listener to always cherish great moments, as nothing doesn't truly last forever. Another great aspect of this project is that it's filled with unique concepts. A perfect example of this is the song Fetus, which involves Nas rapping in the perspective of still being in his mother's womb. He vividly takes the listener through his birth process, and he also talks about the great things he's going to do once he's born.
I existed in the womb, just like an abyss. Came from behind the sun, my hands balled in a fist.
This is a recurring theme on this project, which makes it a great listening experience overall. The only flaws that I had were two tracks that lacked enjoyment due to the production and performances from Nas. Other than that, this is an amazing project, as Nas provides great performances and concepts throughout.
I made you look, you a slave to a page in my rhyme book. Getting big money, playboy, your time's up.
The positive, inspirational, and motivational vibe of this album is executed remarkably. Nas provides passionate performances throughout this project that tackle a wide range of topics. The concepts are amazingly unique, as Nas puts the listener in scenarios to make wise decisions to better their life. Two tracks that highlight this are I Can and Heaven. There are also tracks that consist of Nas coming up with solutions for the negativity that goes on in the black community. The way he recites his lyrics on these tracks are captivating, as he vividly describes various hardships of this particular way of life. But although this album is filled with positive energy and concepts, most tracks didn't stand out due to a multitude of reasons. Some tracks just have acceptable production, and there are a lot of instances where performances from Nas and the featured artist are just passably good. There is only one track that stood out for me, which is the song Last Real Alive, as Nas presents amazing storytelling that revolves around his life in the rap game.
Y'all know about my Biggie walls, who you thought kicking the door was for, but that's my heart, y'all still tripping.
There are also instances where Nas provides very touching performances that have the ability to make the listener cry. A perfect example of this is the song Dance, which he dedicates to his mother that passed away. You can hear the pain and sorrow in his vocals as he misses his mother and wishes he can dance with her one more time. But just as I mentioned before, there are instances with songs like this that bring the value of it down, and for this song in particular is the dreadful melodic performance from the male vocalist on the hook. There are also a handful of tracks that are boring and only good for one listen. In conclusion, this is a really good album. It has a heavenly feel to it, which greatly reflects the title, and the concepts are amazing. But there are definitely flaws, as only one track stood out from the rest.
As day comes and night falls, for the rest of our lives we'll miss y'all.
Nas presents a ton of gems on this album. It's pretty loaded with a lot of tracks, but the structure of this album is amazing, which made it highly enjoyable. The concept is interesting, as Nas refers to himself as a streets disciple. He prophesizes things to come, while also talking about the hardships of the ghetto. This also leads to him creating captivating tracks about his stance on politics, which is often a force that holds people in low-end communities back. His storytelling ability is still at its peak, as he creates a series of tracks that tell the tale of a gangster named Secco on track Secco's Story and Live Now. Nas also provides a ton of creativity on these songs, as he uses a voice effect on his vocals in order to play the role of the gangster's wife. At first I thought that it was actually a woman named Scarlett featured on the track, as Nas's vocals sound exactly like a female.
Forget about them other dudes, they talking to me rude, cause I always knew the truth, they hated say
Speaking of guest features, they're great on this album for the most part. Major highlights for me is Quan on the song Just a Moment and Keon Bryce on the song War. Both artists provide incredible rap and singing performances, which greatly assisted Nas. Another amazing element of this album is that Nas showcases maturity as he's entering new phases in his life. He talks about his eagerness to get married and have a happy life raising a family. He expresses this on the song Getting Married, which is dedicated to his soon-to-be wife Khalees.
Headed to the chapel, my niggas laughing and it's baffling, cause just a year ago was weird though. I knew I'd get married to who.
But although this album is great for the most part, there are a handful of tracks that were boring due to the production and Nas's unamusing style. But this didn't affect this project too much, as the good most certainly outweighs the bad. In conclusion, this is an incredible album with a lot to offer.
If hip hop should die before I wake, I put an extended clip and body him all day. Roll at every station record.
Nas provides a very interesting concept on this album. It revolves around his perspective on hip-hop being dead. In some instances, he talks about how it's on the verge of death, in others where he states that it's dead. He gives his reasons on why he thinks hip-hop is dead, and he even comes up with various solutions to possibly reviving it. I like the fact that you can hear the frustration in his voice, as he truly feels this way. Another interesting aspect of this album is Nas reminiscing on when times were good, which leads to him paying homage to various musicians. A major highlight that showcases this is the song Where Are They Now, which is a touching track that consists of Nas hoping that his fellow hip-hop friends are still doing okay. He states that they don't get the flowers they deserve, which is another aspect on why he believes hip-hop is dead.
Rappers like a ghost town, real mystic, like these folks never existed. They the reason that rap.
Now, I'm someone that has never thought that hip-hop was dead or dying, but Nas makes a lot of great points on why he believes it did. I agree with his stance on the track Hope, as he states that one of the reasons hip-hop is dead is because people don't care about it. This reflects today's society, as many people state that rap is dead. These same people don't even take the time out to listen to the music, and they also complain about how the mainstream doesn't push hip-hop that caters to them. If someone actually cared about the genre, you wouldn't wait for an entity to give you something that you're supposed to already love. This album is really deep, as Nas makes a lot of interesting points. The title track Hip Hop Is Dead is absolutely incredible, as the production is unique and hard-hitting, and Nas provides a very passionate performance. But although this album has a great concept, there are a lot of cons, as a large chunk of the production isn't interesting, and there is also a ton of dry performances. These flaws also led to Nas's first bad song. The song Who Killed It involves Nas rapping with a terrible accent. This is really a shame, as this song has a great concept that consists of Nas playing the role of a detective in order to find out who killed hip-hop.
Says one glance is all it took you. She's a real looker. They say an old man's a bootlegger. Transporting.
The guest features are decent for the most part, with the main highlights being the singers. In conclusion, this is a really good album. The concept is interesting, and Nas provides some gems.
Laced and Macy's don't have it. A hatred addict. I need faces mad with frowns when I'm around, or I wasted fabric.
The concept of this album is incredible, as Nas takes a really bold chance. This album is essentially motivation for black people to overcome hardships and learn who they truly are. Nas sees himself as a modern-day revolutionary, as he knows that certain statements and beliefs such as this could possibly lead to his demise. He's willing to take this chance, as he constantly talks about how black people need to wake up and recognize their true potential. This concept led to this album having a ton of great motivational tracks and passionate performances from Nas. The production is good overall, and there are really good performances from the featured artist. Perfect examples of this are Chris Brown in The Game on the song Make the World Go Round. Carrie Hilson provides an amazing vocal performance on the song Hero, and a major highlight for me is Busta Rhymes on the song Fried Chicken. The song Fried Chicken is a great example of Nas addressing a serious issue in the black community, which are foods that were inherited through slavery, which leads to the #1 killer of black people in America. Nas and Busta Rhymes provide incredible lyricism, which consists of fascinating metaphors.
Fried chicken, fly vixen, give me heart disease, but need you in my kitchen. You a bird.
But although there's a lot of good on this album, some tracks were sonically boring due to the production and performances from Nas and the guest features. But although these songs are boring, they still have great concepts, which may spark the interest of certain listeners. In conclusion, this is an amazing album, as Nas takes a very bold stance, which is that of waking up the minds of black people.
Switch up the language, I move to Ghana. Salute and honor, real revolution rhymers. Written piranhas like you.
Nas and Damian Marley have incredible chemistry on this album. The concept is powerful, as Nas and Damian Marley highlight the fact that they come from different backgrounds, but are similar in a lot of ways. They both experience everyday struggles and hardships. They also share the same spiritual beliefs no matter the religion, as they want the same thing in the end, which is peace and tranquility. This project is very joyful and inspirational due to the production and performances from Nas and Damian Damian Marley. This album is my introduction to Damian Marley, and he didn't disappoint. He's very versatile as he raps and sings on this project. Nas does what he does best, which is provide passionate performances with great lyrics. While I was listening to this album, I got a high sense of joy due to the various elements previously mentioned. Another great thing about this project is the performances from the guest features. Everyone greatly assisted Nas and Damian Marley, except for one performance, which is Josh Stone on the track My Generation. Another minor flaw are the very pretentious verses from Nas and Damian Marley on the song Strong Will Continue. Other than that, this album is absolutely incredible, as it has a very positive message. The execution of the production and performances are executed amazingly, which led to a fascinating listening experience.
I want someone who likes the champagne I like. My A, I like someone to talk me off the bridge any day and night. She teach me how to...
This album was a huge letdown. The biggest issue with it is the production. Most tracks are presented with lackluster instrumentals with nothing to offer. Nas flows well over the mediocre production, but there are instances where the poor beats affect his performance as well. The concept of this album is fantastic, as Nas embraces his old age and reflects on overcoming his hardships, which led to him living comfortably. Although the majority of this album is filled with boring production, there are some serious gems. The passionate performances from Nas and Anthony Hamilton are amazing on the song World's an Addiction, and Nas's farewell to his ex-wife Khalees on the song Bye Baby has the ability to make you cry.
Could you imagine writing your deposition? Divorce lawyer telling you how this thing gonna be ending? Would you pay?
There are other good songs on this album, but just as I said before, the majority of this project isn't memorable due to the overall production.
The ghetto Othello the more. Oh my God, they speak venomous on the boy. Oh my Lord, my enemy.
This album started off horribly. This is due to the first two tracks having terrible production and vocal performances. The first track, Not For The Radio, is sonically bad due to poor mixing. Nas's performance is completely out of place, and the additional staticky excerpts from P. Diddy are absolutely terrible. The icing on the cake is the poorly mixed singing from the female vocalist. The second track, Cop Shot the Kid, is probably one of the worst beats I've ever heard in the genre, as it's very obnoxious, which greatly affects Nas and Kanye's performances.
I don't wanna hurt nobody. We just came here to party, see a few dames exchange some...
Thankfully, this didn't continue on this album, as there are some good tracks. The concepts are amazing, as Nas talks about the various hardships of the community. He talks about injustices, and he also gives the people hope with motivational messages. Nas proves that he can still make passionate tracks with very meaningful topics. Nas also provides tracks where he talks about enjoying the fruits of his labor. A major highlight for me is the song Bonjour, which involves Nas enjoying various places outside the country. Another highlight on this album are the performances from the guest features. Their performances are so good, it even led to them outshining Nas on one track. The song in question is Everything, which involves incredible singing performances from Kanye West and The Dream. The Dream's singing vocals are also very unique on the song Adam and Eve, and Tony Williams provides amazing singing vocals on the song Bonjour. All in all, this is a decent album. Nas performs well on some tracks, along with providing good concepts.
I'm oblivious to you skeptics. What you hear, you ain't never hear till I repped it.
On the second installment of Nas's Lost Tape series, I was ultimately let down. The tracks that appear on this project are scrap songs from his albums Hip Hop Is Dead, Untitled, Life Is Good, and Nasir. Some of these tracks could have remained scraps, as they're uninteresting and sonically unappealing. There are also tracks on this project that feel unfinished due to the mixing. But even though there are noticeable flaws on this album, Nas still provides a handful of tracks with good concepts. He continues to reflect on the hardships of his past. He also talks about how much he enjoys life in the current day. This leads to tracks having a nostalgic and inspirational feel to them. In conclusion, this project is just okay to me. Half of it is lackluster and the other half is good.
Whole squad hide the burners. Mets hat in the sky like Bobby Smurder. They watch me like...
Nas provides a great concept for this album. King's disease is an illness that involves a king dealing with various entities trying to bring him down. If you're someone with the king's mentality, you will face many hardships that involves others being jealous and envious. Nas did a great job explaining this on the first track, King's Disease. On the song The Cure, Nas then explains the remedy for the disease, which is having love in your heart and always staying on your mission. Nas continues to prove that he can present introspective concepts. His lyrical ability is also still intact, which led to multiple great performances on this project. The guest features are half and half, as some performances are good and others are very lackluster. One major highlight for me is Charlie Wilson on the song Car Number 85, which involves him providing amazing singing vocals.
Car 85. Don't want no other driver on the job. Nah, only
Nas reunites with the members of the rap group The Firm on the song Full Circle, which involves AZ, Carmega, and Foxy Brown dropping great verses about maturing as they got older. Some examples of poor performances is Anderson .Paak's underwhelming singing vocals on the song All Bad, and Fivio Foreign and A$AP Ferg's forgettable performances on the song Spicy. Another great element on this album is the production. Hit Boy did his thing on the instrumentals, as they're really good due to the beautiful melodies and catchy samples. In conclusion, this is a great album. Nas provides an interesting concept and executes it exceptionally with great performances and production.
I'm in rare form. Niggas speak down on my name like I wasn't there for 'em. Talk about back in the day.
On the second installment of Nas's King's Disease series, it's sort of a mixed bag. The first half consists of Nas testing out different flows, which are underwhelming for the most part. These songs also had not so great production and very lackluster performances from guest features. I like the concept of this project, which is a continuation of the first album. The first installment of King's Disease ended with Nas explaining a cure for the sickness, which is keeping love in your heart and staying on your path. The songs on this album are the cure for the disease, as Nas talks about how he overcame hardships by staying true to himself. This leads to him reflecting on past memories, which led to him learning valuable lessons. The execution of the song Death Row East was poor, mainly due to the production. Nas tells an intriguing story about the tension between him and Tupac during the time of the East Coast West Coast fiasco. His storytelling is great, but just as I said before, the lackluster instrumental ruined this track for me. Speaking of lackluster, EPMD and Eminem provide unamusing performances on the song EPMD 2. Everyone's performance on this track is affected by each artist trying to outdo each other, which led to very pretentious flows that aren't sonically enjoyable. Thankfully, this isn't a reoccurring thing on this project, as there are some incredible tracks that reflect the concept of this album. Two major highlights for me are the songs Moments and Nobody. The song Moments has a very unique concept that involves Nas highlighting moments in your life you will never experience again. Although you will never experience certain moments again, it's always good to relive these moments through memory. The song Nobody holds another unique concept, as Nas talks about escaping the realities of the world in order to focus on one's inner self. This track is also a great example of a guest feature providing a phenomenal performance, as Lauryn Hill compliments Nas's style exceptionally.
All my time is spent focused on my freedom now. Why would I join him when I know that I could beat him now? They put their word.
In conclusion, this is a great album overall, as it has a good concept that led to interestingly entertaining tracks.
No comparison, we more solid than they are. Me and Hit Boy, they say we like the new Gangstar.
This album wasn't interesting to me overall. The highlight is the production, as the instrumentals are unique and creative. It reflects the title of this project, as there is a mystical feel to the production. The same can't be said about Nas's performances. There are instances on this project where he feels unenthused, which makes tracks very boring to listen to. I also have issues with his flows not matching well with the unique production. A good example of this are his intense flows on the track Speechless and Meet Joe Black. The song Speechless has a smooth trance feel to it, which doesn't match well with Nas's delivery. Meet Joe Black involves Nas experimenting with different flows that don't fit his style. His flow overall doesn't work well with the production on this track, as it has that intensity that I previously mentioned. But thankfully all isn't bad on this album. The concept is interesting, as Nas refers to certain events that happen in his life as magic. This also refers to the music he creates. A major highlight track for me is Woo for the Children. This track is one of the few instances where Nas flows well over the magical production. His lyrics are another highlight, as he reflects on friendships and run-ins with MCs back in the day.
Queens to Brooklyn, oh what a feeling. I shoulda had Grammys when No Dirty said Woo for the Children. Shoulda did that.
In conclusion, this is a decent project. Most of it is lackluster due to Nas's passionless performances. But although this is the case, there are still some good performances as well.
Eardrums diversionized from the words of mine. Just a word of advice, you can't murder Nas. All my niggas.
This album is incredible from start to finish. Nas continues to show why he's a legend in the game, as he provides amazing performances throughout this project. The production is another incredible aspect of this album, as the beats have a nostalgic feel to them. The instrumentals consist of addictive soul samples and other creative elements that greatly bring out Nas's flow. The nostalgic feel of the production also lines up with the concept, which consists of Nas reflecting on the past. Another aspect of the concept is Nas embracing the fact that he still has the ability to provide great music to his fans and the world. world. Although he realizes that he had great moments in the past, he states that there are even greater moments in the current day, which is why he still loves doing what he does. This is also one of the cures for King's disease, which is remaining on your path. The concept of this album also has a twist, as he mentions the cure of King's disease just as he mentioned on the first installment. On the song Don't Shoot, Nas talks about how entities want to take him out as his messages are convoluted to them. Nas refers to the entities as kings, which are the very same people that he warned other kings about previously. He explains his message to these forces and tells them that their ignorance is the reason why they're still sick from the disease. I don't know if this is what Nas was trying to say for sure, but it's what I gathered from listening to his lyrics. This continues to highlight Nas's amazing ability to provide great themes on his albums.
You are your own cure for your king's disease. You gotta look inside to cure that.
In conclusion, this is an incredible album. It's almost flawless, as I only didn't prefer the production choices on 2 songs. Other than that, this is an amazing project with incredible production and concepts.
No back and forth, I did it back then, I do it right now. I open a lane for my era, I'm goated, they gave me the crown.
This album is perfection as there are no skips. The production is absolutely incredible as it's very creative. Hit Boy did his thing on this project as the instrumentals have creatively catchy samples and melodies. The concept of this project is the same as the first installment. Nas refers to his creations as magic, which consists of the creative process of Hit Boy and himself. He vividly explained this on the track Abracadabra, which is a major highlight for me as Nas provides an intriguing fast flow and the production is very catchy. Nas also continues to state how much he loves his craft and appreciates the fact that he made it so far. He realizes what his success really means on the song What This All Really Means, and his revelation is motivational.
My DNA and they G'd up ways, and they surveying, I showed them my scrotum is golden. Rap game stomach was full.
Other tracks on this project are met with unique production and interesting perspectives from Nas. Although one track stood out for me, I didn't get the feeling that this project was lackluster, as the rest of the songs are really good. This is definitely an album you can play repeatedly countless times, as every track has something to offer. This is by far one of the best Nas projects in my opinion, as the execution is perfect.
Rope chain hang, diamonds independent. I am independent, she wrote a comment, they pinned it. It got to my attention.
On the final installment of Nas's 6th album run with Hit Boy, he creates an almost flawless project. Nas continues to showcase why he's a legend in the game, as his rap ability is still top tier. He provides amazing tracks with interesting concepts, and he's still one of the best storytellers in the genre. He also continues to praise the fact that he's older, as he's gained a lot of wisdom. The production is also flawless, as there isn't a bad instrumental. There is only one minor flaw I have with this project, which is a performance from the only guest feature. Lil Wayne's repetitious flow on the song Never Die is sonically unappealing to me. With this being the only flaw in this project, the rest is filled with great production concepts and performances from Nas. A major highlight for me is the song No Tears, which involves Nas rapping in the perspective of his younger self, writing to his older self. Another major highlight are the tracks based on true events 1 and 2, which continues to showcase Nas's amazing ability to tell captivating stories through his rhymes.
You can't trust how they move in this solitaire chain. His bust down Cuban whipping the Rari truck. Us down the music, he got a call.
In conclusion, this is an incredible album as it's executed amazingly all around. This is the very first time this has happened on this channel. Nas has so many high scores on his albums that he literally broke the scale. All this tells me is that he has one of the best discographies in hip hop. His projects are amazing for the most part, as he knows how to provide great performances and topics. It was such a great experience listening to all of Nas's albums, as I witnessed his continued growth. I like the fact that he matured through the years, which should be the goal for everyone. On his earlier albums, he had a lot of gangster themes, which could be classified as ignorance to some and survival survival to others. I can definitely see arguments made for both cases, but what you can't deny is that the lifestyle of a gangster rarely leads to anything good. I don't know if this was Nas's intention, but this is definitely noticeable when you listen to his discography. I don't know how much Nas was involved with the street life, but I definitely know that growing up in low-end communities can lead to the youth facing challenges that involve this lifestyle. But although Nas highlighted the street life in his earlier projects, he also saw the bigger picture, which is for black people to come together and fight against the things that actually oppress them. The further I listened to Nas's projects, I noticed that the gangster element became non-existent as he focused on the other message more. Another fascinating thing about Nas maturing in his music is that he embraces his old age. It's a running joke in society that makes fun of the fact that people get older, when in my opinion, it should be looked at as something to celebrate, especially if you achieve certain accolades like Nas. Another thing that's amazing about Nas is his ability to tell stories. He's most certainly one of the best storytellers in the genre, as his lyricism always impressed me on these tracks. When you listen to a Nas storytelling song, it's going to definitely make you feel like you're in a scene of a movie. Another amazing thing about Nas is that his flow always stayed intact. I honestly feel like he perfected his craft at the very beginning. He's mastered the ability to flow on an instrumental and provide interesting and fascinating lyricism. I rarely got bored listening to Nas's discography, as all the things I mentioned before are the reasons why his albums are so good. He's most certainly one of the best in the game, and I'm glad that I took the time out to listen to his full discography. With all that being said, this is another full discography review. Stay tuned for more, because I got a whole lot of rappers to cover.